Oh, yeah.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
You can check your devices for in prompt expired. What does that mean? Oh, there we go.
You see me? See us?
Yeah, hold on. Let me bring Zoom up. I clicked the live stream to YouTube feature as well. I just thought that'd be cool.
Live stream to YouTube. Hey, cool. Your iRig's working. Very nice.
We are here on the scene. Now, see, here's the thing. Like, how do I turn off notifications? Like on my, that would be a feature I need. Which is,
Okay, hanging out here. Okay.
Am I on the screen?
Yeah.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. This is a cool way to do recital hour. I like being live on the scene. Let me get my coffee though.
Where are you hiding out today? Neal, can you hear us?
Good morning, Rick. I can hear you. Yeah, it's a little roomy, so it's a little, but I can hear you.
What you doing today?
Didn't understand that.
Where are you hiding out?
I'm at Secret Studio.
Okay.
We are in Franklinton. I'll be talking all about it. Volume's good though. Is it okay if I talk here? Is that all right? Can you hear that? Does that sound pretty good? No, this sounds better. You got to be closer. Okay. I thought this would sound better than the built-in iPad, so we'll make sure we have this going on. Interview, and we'll talk closely. Paid attention, but
Okay. I'll keep an eye out though. Awesome. All right, I will let you know. Cool, thanks. You got it. Bye-bye. Cool. You hear me all right?
I hear you just fine. Yeah, actually.
Hey, how's it going, Keith? I have about 3 or 4 slideshow announcement things to do real quick. So,
is that just your? What are you mic'd up, or are you just talking?
Have just the camera.
Oh, okay.
And then it's being really close, but
yeah, it sounds.
This is what I'll sound like.
Oh, that's you sound. The combination of those two is crazy.
Yeah. And then there's I think there's DSP or something on it. There's latencies. It's really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get a really good crowd, and they do some like go bike races with city officials, and beer, and everyone's got their like crowd and all their Indiana shirt, and stuff like that. And it's actually kind of downtown's kind of happening. I don't enjoy Indiana as a state as a whole, but they put on a really good downtown event. And then, but yeah, usually it's in July. We're riding up in Bradenburg, Ohio, which is Amish country northeast, right? So out toward Utica, like past Utica. We parked at the community center, and there's different Monday of Labor Day, and you can see everyone's like sitting on garage stuff. And this guy next where we parked had a house and just a tiny table. It's like maybe it was taller, but not very big like that. And there was always someone there though, like another car parked or a truck parked or whatever. And then as we were leaving, is guns. And he just had 6 or 7 guns. He was checking out the guns. And so we rode like 3.5, 4 hours. We come back, and he was just like putting everything away. Apparently, a lot of buggies. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, we're just gonna get all pumped up with some Tool.
Oh, okay.
I can't even hear me.
Yeah, I can.
Okay,
I'm muted here.
no problem.
Yep. Play the music. It's fun. I'm getting. I've done rotator cuff on my left, and I'm getting an MRI on my right. I don't remember. I remember. Lord. Is that in Columbus or down in Athens? Columbus. Okay. I went off to date everything about this story. Did you go over the dumps, or also they were just dumps? By far, the big fill. Ship west of off the Allen Creek bike path. There's this crazy cool jumps. So he was inspired by it. And then people were like, why'd you take that jump? Our lawyer told us. That's
like walking out on your
I love that he has like a
the whole thing.
That's wild. Or you down here?
Get down and go down there. I watched the video and walking through the studio. They didn't see all the annoying big things that we used to gather over the years.
I don't know if they increased. Yeah, is that's fun. Yeah.
I emailed him. He is hyper focused. And I don't know. Yeah. I didn't do you think that we feel that often it's not like that we feel
Big.
Also,
I call Neal. Very. It's like, recommend that? It's like, I don't know. Why don't you try it? Let me know how it goes. So I pulled look into a very unessential channel. It's like an EQ module that nobody or they barely use. And I did it, and it took like a half hour for it to cut the water to come to temperature. I ran it through out completely. And then
Neal, do you want to mute your microphone just for a second here while I do these announcements?
I thought I was. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
Good morning, everybody. How are you doing today? It's like it's flying by. This is January, so. We had some really good sessions happen in 2012 this week. Yes, all next week. So stay for rolling. Anyone else doing session work? Getting in, doing a recording, the interview. Okay, cool. Anyone else doing anything fun, exciting, the studios? That's cool. All right. Does anyone have, well, before I say this, so studio managers have been hard at work trying to keep the spaces running and reporting back to us any issues throughout the spaces. Just so you all know, I took care of all of the suites. We had some keyboard issues. So I know suite 1, like E key wasn't working for some reason. So I took care of all of that. So that should be all set to go. I know the back suite, what was that, suite 3, has some sort of a fan buzzing going on in there, and I think I've narrowed it down. It's just a daunting experience trying to fix it, but I'll get there, I promise. But I know about that. Is there anything else that hasn't been addressed that you all know is going on? Yeah.
I just want to talk to whoever represents Studio A for the managers. There's a problem with the mouse, and I tried changing some batteries.
Yeah. You're on, we're on. There we go. Asking you shall be fixed. Anything else? Is that what you're talking about?
And there's a bad channel on the audio, channel 20. I put it on, so check that.
Okay. Studio F, Dan, I don't know if I responded to you. You said channel 1 on API box console. It actually does function if you put it in direct free mode. It's actually the input fader that is the problem. So if you go directly, all 4 channels will work just fine. So, yeah, a lot of dust and whatnot settled over the last year with a little less use than normal. So if you feel like you got some scratchy pots and all that sort of thing, just, you know, up down sort of deal. And it gets to the point where it just doesn't function. We've got some very specific kind of called deoxit that helps us to fix that. So just real quick, as a reminder, over fall break, we have sessions at Sonic Lounge that are all set up for you. If you have not looked into that or you need more information, reach out to Neal. Same thing for the Germany trip. So the first deposit is coming up in October still, so plenty of time to think about that. But if you are interested, get your name on the list. There's limited seats. So as a reminder, every week, I just want to make sure that you're involved with AES. If you have the ability and time, Liam, give us comments.
We just had a meeting yesterday about some stuff that we're finding out. If you guys have seen any emails from San Gio looking for people to participate in this, we are now going to be working with him, a small team, mostly led by Amanda, who's kind of definitely wanted to take over more of an official role on that. And we're going to be participating in recording. So if you've ever been interested in what that looks like on the computer side of things, this is a great opportunity. Because we're both going to be figuring out how we're going to record it, what equipment we're going to use, and then working with the director themselves on how the show looks so that we can practice and do the best we can. Also, we got the ball rolling on another event coming up in October. Save the date for October 7th. We're planning on it being a full DJ-based show. If you are interested in participating in the show, both as a DJ or as a technician, let me know. Technician side, we're going to be looking for mostly working with lights and smoke machines and trying to make the show look as cool as we can make it look. Because I know that's something I don't know that much about. So that ball started rolling right now as well. Definitely follow us on our socials. We just got a new person who's going to be helping me out with that because I'm not very good with the social medias. If you're getting follows, that means that you like you and want to know what's happening. So you should like us and see what we're doing. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Liam. Just as a reminder, we do have tutoring available. If there's any particular subject you're struggling on a day-to-day basis, the tutoring is available Monday through Thursday, 7 to 8 p.m. I know Dan and Evan, they've been lonely that time these past couple of weeks. So I know as things just start to progress and you're very young, there is an opportunity. They are there. Make sure that you take advantage of seeing them for some help if you need it. And again, juniors and seniors, if you are interested in being a tutor, please do reach out to me. Somebody did reach out to me, and I can't remember who it was. It got lost in my messages. So if you did reach out and haven't responded, please get back with me about that. So one last thing, I'm trying to post audio jobs that come up to us that any of you might be able to take advantage of while you're in school, and this one is awesome. So Joey Pasternak, Joey P is a grad of the Music Tech program. He is now, as of a few months ago, the one and only stage manager at Express Live. So he is the hiring and firing person for stagehands at Express Live. So on the weekends, late evenings, if you're interested in loading in and loading out gear, kind of a situation where you might come in the morning, load in a whole bunch of gear for the show that's happening, and then you take a break throughout the day, and then you come back late at night for the load out. That's the type of gig that we're talking about. So responsibility for assembling and setting up the beginning of various events, scenes, microphones, instruments, all that kind of stuff, loading and unloading equipment, so you have to be able to lift a certain weight, assisting carpentry if need be, working closely with electricians and lighting assistants, and just ensuring that the systems are functional. So as of right now, all of this information is on the Express Live page, and Joey had suggested that you just go directly there and hit apply now, but it's not functioning today. I just checked this morning, so he suggested you just email him directly, joey@chronowestlive.com. So very, very cool part-time gig, and it's flexible, right? You take a show when you can, that sort of thing. Right, so he's looking for stagehands at Express Live, so take advantage. It should be very cool. Any other comments, questions before we get going here? Awesome. All right. Well, away we go. Don't ever say we don't do anything for you. Neal jumped ship and decided to just go right over to our guest and our location today, so that way we can zoom in and he can interview. So Neal, take it away.
Hello, everybody. That means you can hear me. Excellent. Yeah. So it's fun to be live on location. So I'm here in Franklinton at Secret Studio with my good friend Keith, who I've known since I was sitting in those seats with you guys. So awesome drummer, and he's had sort of interesting pathways and always been dabbling in recording. And then it's 2020, right? Or January, March 2020 when you opened Secret, right?
We opened the studio last year, March 2020. Yeah, March 13th was grand opening party, which we canceled that day.
There you go. Right. So all exciting stuff. So we're in this really cool nondescript building down in Franklinton. If you haven't been down here in a while, there's all sorts of things happening sort of on the close to the river and close to downtown. In fact, I'm going to plug tonight. Franklinton Fridays is happening tonight. Has anyone been to a Franklinton Fridays? Okay, you should. There's all sorts of cool things happening down here. They have vendors and booths, and when I was here, there was probably like 6 pop-up record stores. I took a ton of records for like $20. So tons of cool stuff coming on. So if you're looking for something to do tonight, you could grab the coda right to here.
It's spaced around all the art galleries that are happening. This is kind of the new arts district of Columbus. So there's Roy G. Biv Gallery, 400 West Ridge, Vanderelli Room, Glass Axis, which is a glass blowing gallery and space. So we're part of that too, because we have an art gallery.
Yeah. So great. So let's talk about you for a little bit, and then So just give us a quick background on the quick 30-second biography of you.
Okay. So, I got into music from an older brother who went to New England Conservatory and studied music and arranging as a jazz musician, and brought home a drum set when I was pretty young and just started banging on it when I was in the single digits. I'm not really sure how old I was, but always had drums around. And I remember distinctly walking into his room and hearing Hello Goodbye by the Beatles coming off his reel-to-reel tape deck on his stereo. And I just was like, what? That sounds amazing. And that was kind of the first experience I had of like what sound can be like and what music and audio. I wanted to know more about that world, and I was fascinated by the reel-to-reel tape decks. And my dad had some, and I destroyed them. But I eventually went to OU and took the audio production sequence down there. Graduated, tried to be a professional musician for a number of years and failed, and kind of came back into the world of audio. For 7 years, I've been the house engineer at Music Hall Recording, which is the oldest surviving studio in Columbus. It's about 52 years old. And then last year opened Secret Studio with my business partner, Amy Sharp.
And then you worked at Columbus Percussion in there too.
I worked at Columbus Percussion. I toured with a band called the Black Swans and an artist named Parker Paul. And my old band Orchestraville. So yeah, did a lot of recording in the studio as a musician on the other side of things, but always probably had a very annoying hand in the production.
Yeah, I mean, so but when we toured, you had the mini disc with the stereo microphones. We clip on our collars, and like we've been geeky about sound together for a long, long time. So it's pretty fun.
I used some of the field recording I did with that mini disc in New York City on the Last Connections record. Yeah, dug it up.
So we're here at Secret Studio, and we're going to concentrate on the studio part. And we're going to talk about internships, but I think one of the things that's really unique about your business plan that I think was part of the plan from the get-go, or maybe not, was that it's more than just a recording studio.
Yes. Basically, this business came about by having conversation with my friend Amy Sharp, who is a poet and a writer. She's a creative director for IBMX here in Columbus. And, she had, a lot of poetry readings that she would do at local places. And she wanted another kind of venue to do events and workshops, because she does teach poetry workshops. And I wanted a recording studio, and I also wanted to dabble in with workshops and kind of, we thought, wow, this could be really cool. We could do this. We kind of called it an arts salon originally, of just like bringing different backgrounds and different artistic leanings to one place where people can meet. We looked all over the place, but we ended up finding this building in Franklinton, which was perfect because we're surrounded by art galleries. There wasn't really a music element involved. There's a stage over at Land Grant now, Land Grant Brewery. There's the Idea Foundry has done some shows on their dock or whatnot, but not a whole lot going on. And then this last year, we built a stage here outside our place. So we've been having shows here too, outdoor shows. We just finished a summer series. So it's kind of like all of these different ideas kind of came to fruition, and just by chance, when we put our blueprints together of the space, because we had to build everything, we ended up with an art gallery. So during these Franklinton Friday events, we have a show every month. We're selling art. We get a cut of that, and it really helps meet the bottom line.
Yeah, he was saying that the art has, during some of the lean times in the past 18 months, that the art gallery getting a cut of the artists and helping them sell their artwork, both online through Facebook Live shows and in-person shows, has been like a revenue source, right? So one of the things that we talk to, that you hear through a lot through the business classes that we talk about, is multiple revenue streams, right? You could say side hustle, but most people in our industry do other things, right? So even when I was doing the studio full time, I also did live sound and I worked corporate audio. My partner was writing songs, and that catalog that he wrote 20 years ago continues to send him mailbox money, right? So all these different side hustles. So
I think when we originally were coming up with this idea, we met with you and we met with your partner as well. And that's one of the things we talked about. You were giving us some great suggestions, and we didn't do what you suggested, but we did what you suggested. We diversified. Yeah, absolutely did.
Yeah. So it's great. So, as everyone works on their career, like you're going to be doing other things, maybe, playing in bands, and that fulfills part of that. And then the money that band makes can go in that band, but then you do these other things and that money goes here. So cool. So let's, so we're sitting in the lobby. So I thought I'd do a quick tour of here, and then we're going to go down the hallway into the live room. So bear with me as we're moving, but I thought it'd be cool to see the different spaces. So I'm going to raise this up. And I'm going to do a little spin here. Got our vinyl. So you can see there. Now we've got some of the artwork on the walls. There's the hallway. We're going to be going down here in a second. More artwork. And then there's a table over here in a corner, and they can pull that out. So one of the things, I feel like a news reporter. One of the things they'll be doing, as you said, Sunday is Rare Buzzer workshop. Yeah. So then the idea is then do these different workshops. So with Johnny Easterly from Rare Buzz. Does anyone have a Rare Buzz pedal? Liam does. Yeah. He makes really cool stuff. So like one of his pedals is a knockoff of the Rat distortion pedal called the Snitch that has some different things. And so really cool, entrepreneur in Columbus creating something cool. So look up Rare Buzz and support, like cool pedals. And then he does these really cool wood face plates and all sorts of interesting stuff. So they're doing, a build a pedal workshop, so again, that diversification and giving different people in the studio. So the studio will be open tonight for the Franklinton Fridays. Yeah. So if you want to come by.
6 to 10 tonight, because we're going to have some DJs outside, and there's going to be a record swap out in the space.
So if you end up leaving campus and come down, make sure you say hi to Keith. All right, we're going to walk down the hallway. Here we go. So I'm going to go, because I got it facing this way.
Good camera work, Neal.
I'm going to do one of those drone fly-throughs. All right, I'm stopping here because this is my favorite thing that Keith has, which is the thing I always wanted, which is the card catalog holding the microphones. Oh, I got it. There we go. I love this. I love this. So, one of the things that I know a lot of you are doing is starting to build collections, right? And one of the ways to build collections is just don't sell anything. So as you look through and you buy even $20 microphones, those are some of my favorite things that you can buy. You just start collecting stuff and getting stuff, right? Yeah, right. Oh, it says, where's the camera? Right? So as you go to thrift stores, yard sales, I mean, Labor Day was tons of yard sales, so that kind of stuff. So here we're in the live room. So all the walls and the ceiling too is all built by you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, not built by me personally.
Well, okay.
But everything, it's double walled, air gap. It took a long time. I'm trying to remember.
You mentioned an architect.
Yeah. So we have an architect who helped us with this. In fact, I mean, because originally I was just drawing it all out on graph paper, and a client of mine who is an architect. He's a musician. I've worked on his records. We hired him to help us out, and that's pretty much how we got the art gallery, because there's a back door, and the whole reason I met with him was we have this back door. Originally, I thought the studio was going to go all the way to the outside wall. And I was like, well, how do I do this? What do we do? I know there's some ADA compliancy issues. And he came back and he's like, so, your studio is going to be a little smaller. And I was like, oh man, no. But he's like, but you'll have this hallway and you can do an art gallery. Like he specifically said that. And we were like, oh, yeah. So, Yeah, so we had it all framed out, and I ran all the wires for audio, and then had to hire an electrician to install everything. But it came together. It took about 6 months. I think. Yes, I've had two interns from Capital, Mike and Brett.
Excellent. So you can see the collection of, and then every studio needs. I kind of think that's a underrated live room accoutrement that you have. So
Some people don't want it spinning; they just want it on.
in the room, yeah. So so Keith's got. Is this all your gear? Is this a collect? Yeah. Okay. So just a.
Yeah, the drum kit is a vintage Rogers kit from the early '70s. I got some guitar amps. Bought a Fender Rhodes from an old studio in town. Some various guitars and all my electric guitars. These are all mine.
Yeah.
We bought the piano from a church that was giving it away, and had Mitchell's Organ Repair come in and take a look at it. Get that.
Yeah, he's on Craigslist. Who's on Craigslist all the time looking? And only a couple. Oh my gosh. So it's some of you have taught how to make Google alerts. You got to figure out how to set Google alerts for this gear. So
actually going to buy a tabla drum set from somebody either later today or tomorrow morning.
Hey, Neal. Real
yes,
quick,
sir.
I have a question that people might be interested to know. What through to Keith, what value does having those instruments in the studio bring to the studio as far as marketing to musicians and that sort of thing?
Sure. So the question is then, having all this and to your point, here's what's different between sometimes the recording studio and the corporate environment. When I work corporate audio, like all the gear that shows up all has a price that is attached to it. So a rental company gets to take a $75 VCR and make $1,000 over the lifetime of the VCR because they just charge $50 every time the VCR shows up, right? And at Workbook, we had what we called the Guitarsenal, and same thing here, right? All these different instruments, and you want to have these around. I know what. Tell them, why do you want to have all this, the organ and the Hammond and the drum set and different snare drum?
Creativity. It's just, you're in the studio and you have an idea, and then you can immediately do it. You don't have to well, let's pull up, we need a Rhodes sound. Let's pull up Contact and well, there's an actual Rhodes here. Or let's put an acoustic guitar on. Or one of the acoustics I have is strung up for Nashville tuning, which is, that's, on a 12-string guitar, there's 2 strings for every string on the 6th string, right? But most of those, I think, are an octave up. The Nashville stringing it Nashville style. I don't know what you call it, Nashville tuning or what. It's all those second strings from a 12-string set only. So what's cool about that is you can record a regular acoustic guitar and then record this high chimey acoustic guitar on a separate track, pan them. It still sounds like a 12-string, but not. It's pretty cool. So that's
really cool.
Used a lot. And the piano, I mean, that's great to have a real piano. I did a whole session a couple weeks ago with somebody with one of those Chord digital things, and we're replacing everything with the real piano just because it makes such a difference.
Yeah, so for the guitar players in the room, instead of having that thick low E string, it's like having a high E string. Like it's all the high string. You want to grab? I don't know how well it'll come through, but we can try. Here we go.
Hope it's in tune.
Yeah, that's a really cool effect.
Our noise suppression algorithm is screwing up with that.
I figured. Yeah, so it's really cool. So so you buy, a $50 yard sale guitar, and then you put Nashville tuning, right, or something like that, and it's just going to be an accompaniment. It may not be the featured player, but it'll be this cool pan off to the side for the chorus kind of stuff that makes it, yeah, right.
And different guitar amps, different tones. Ampeg amp gets used a lot because it just has this really cool vintagey, reverby, tremolo-y, surf style guitar tone. all those people, lots of people use that Excelsior Fender amp. It's just this like really generic low wattage amp, but if you turn it up, it breaks up really nice. And everyone's always looking for like, oh, I really want a second guitar, but I want a slightly different tone. And they might grab the Tele, they may grab the Les Paul, and it's just an Epiphone Les Paul with Seymour Duncan pickups, but it sounds great. And if it's what you need at that moment, it's perfect.
What are one or two microphones you want to show off real quick? Anything in your collection? What says Shure, Sennheiser, AKG, Telefunken, Audio-Technica, Aston, Audix, Bayer, 3U, Neumann, Cascade, DI boxes. Yeah. Ooh, those are cool.
Cascade Fathead ribbon mics. Which obviously should not be laying down in that direction, so the ribbon doesn't sag. These are not expensive microphones. You can get a matched pair pretty. I don't remember how much. I bought these used, so I like them a lot. They're quite smooth. They're not like a Royer or anything, but they're still. I like them more than 57, which I do like to use. SM57s. I do have these old Unidyne SM57s from the 60s. So this is before they said Shure on them. And I actually think these are way better. At Music Hall, there's some vintage Universal Audio tube preamps, and I mic'd up a guitar with these, and I could have sworn it was a ribbon mic. It just sounded so dynamic and beautiful. It's pretty cool. Got 421s, bought a few 409s from Thornapple. The 431, this is the handheld version of the 441. The Stevie Nicks mic. This is the Prince mic. If you ever see Prince with the cheesy mic that looks like a gun, but actually any picture of Prince live, he's singing into one of these. Yeah, it's a great. It has slight high frequency bump where the 441 doesn't. More for stage vocals, but you can use it on guitar amps and stuff like that.
And correct me, you did your internship at Paisley Park? Is that right?
I attempted to get an internship at Paisley Park. So yeah, Paisley Park probably hadn't been around that long when I applied. They were still an open facility for film and record industry for recording bands, and for the sound stage was used for I think Grumpy Old Men was shot. All the indoor scenes were shot at Paisley Park. And so I had the person at my university send a letter up to try to get me an internship, and that didn't work out. I got a not at this time thing. I ended up interning at Ardent Studios in Memphis, which is where in the 80s, REM, Replacements, they did records there. Big Star in the 70s, a lot of Stax records done in the 70s there from that label. And I mean, going up, I don't even know who's been in there. Lots of stuff in the last one.
Art, it's very cool. You want to go in the control room? All right. Any questions about the live room? Does it look like them?
I'm going to try to find the turn off noise suppression option.
Ooh, where do I want to be? Let's be.
Got any backseat Zoom engineers here that know where that button is? It used to be right here. Automatic. Let's go to
Is that on my end or your end?
Our end, I think.
There it is.
This?
It's enable original sound, check that. Yeah. And then in the actual Zoom window, it should be an option in the top left. There it is. Turn on original sound.
We'll give that a try.
Is it pumping weird? Do we need to be closer to the microphone?
Yeah, sometimes we're having a hard time hearing Keith.
Okay. All right. I'll make sure. So let me do this. I'm going to give you where it's a, can you see? Let me do console. There we go. Okay. So we have a Soundcraft 8000 analog console. And let me see if the rack here, I can get a little, I'm mobile, so I can get closer. Let's walk through some of the gear that's here in the rack. Everyone's favorite patch bays. And they are not labeled. You got to have the patch bay map or everyone's lost, right? So we got, but everything's connected, right? So I'm gonna get, who can I see in there? Cameron, what are those? Yeah, 1176 close. That's the warm audio, some symmetric compressors, two 163Xs, which are the de-essers. We just got a pair of those in Studio A as well. Oh, those are the compressors, sorry. Yeah, the compression is this slide. You move the slider. It's as easy compression as you can get. Oh, you just plug the bass right in there. Oh. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So there's a company, what's the company called? FMR Audio, and they make these little third rack boxes. And when they came out, they were blowing everyone away, and they're $199 for this 2-channel outboard compressor. And are they even still made anymore? Yeah, yeah. No, you don't. No, okay. It was so interesting, but they were like $199, and everyone loved it. So there's 2 of these FMR compressors. Excuse me, Drummer Gates. Is that Furman a spring reverb? Spring reverb rack mount. Look at that. Oh, that's so cool. Probably. How much did you pay for that? Do you know? Can you tell me? Oh, there you go. That doesn't matter. Okay. Yeah. So PV makes, the only PV piece that I had in my studio was a PV valve verb, which is a tube spring reverb rack mount. But any of those rack mount spring reverbs, like, it's just not, digital spring reverb does not sound the same, which is really cool. I love the Effectron too. So that's one of those things where you put it in and everyone likes the Moog delay. Like, imagine even less quality, and that's that cool Effectron. So like, you put in a snare and it's like, God, and it comes out. Like, doesn't sound at all like a snare. Really cool. Old MIDI verb. And then what are these down here? What's these? Look at that. Okay, cool. And then what are those? Oh, 2. Sorry, those are Clark Technic parametric EQs. And then what are the gray pieces you just blocked? What are the, so yeah, swap.
Those aren't up and running yet. Those are 3 Scully 280 preamps from Scully tape deck.
Oh, so the preamp section from a tape deck that you're going to get. So one of the things that when you become a studio owner, is that you learn to be a studio technician, because there's just not funds to send everything off to repair. So you learn how to. So talk about. You talked about destroying tape, your father's tape deck. So, so was it your electronic background as far as being a studio owner? Has it just been all self-taught? I'm going to hand the mic to you so you can talk.
Well, in high school, I took some like extracurricular electronics stuff. Like, I could, make a voltmeter, make, whatever from a kit. And that was kind of my only background. I didn't do any of that when I was in college, and I wish I did. I'm not into math, and if I applied myself a little more in that direction, I would have been a lot better on this end. But really, just been from this last 7 years working at Music Hall, which is all vintage gear pretty much. I mean, there's a computer, but there's also 24-track tape machine, 16-track tape machine, 2-track mix down machines, 7 vintage Yuri 1176s in the rack, tons of stuff like that. And there's a lot of maintenance that needs to be done in there. And I was lucky enough that my predecessor has turned out to be a fantastic tech, and he lives down in Austin now. But he's and it's, I was asking him some questions once, and I just kind of apologized, said, I'm really sorry, I'm always asking you these questions. And he's like, this is the tradition of asking people who've come before you questions and learning from them, and it's the tradition for them to pass that down to you, which kind of is pretty awesome. So if you know a good tech or start working with somebody in that environment, then you'll be able to learn a lot. And I'm no expert, but I've been able to do quite a bit and work on this console. And this console, when I This was at Musical actually, and when they upgraded to an MCI, I bought it. It's an old live sound console that had been modified to be a studio console. Now there's some weird quirks about it, but it does sound fantastic. For a long time, I didn't like it, and a lot of it was because it wasn't getting regular maintenance. And as soon as I learned how to do that, I feel like it just opened up. And I suddenly realized that I didn't need all those vintage outboard preamps at Music Hall so much, that actually I could, just use this and get some great sounds. And there's some channels have been modded for, slightly colored, different tonality in the preamp section. But for the most part, I'm just really happy with it. So.
Yeah. So, and it's since those of you familiar with the Toft or the Audient, right? That's an inline console. This would be a split console. So there is a input path that either goes to Pro Tools, or if you can see, there's an 8-track analog machine, which a lot of clients want to use.
Yeah, I've been recording 2 or 3 projects right now, 8-track analog.
And then so then it uses other channels on the console for monitoring. So that is a split console. So we learn about that kind of stuff. Is there any questions? I've got some more questions I want to ask Keith, but I want to see if there's any questions out there, more gear to show, technical stuff we can geek out on.
Yeah, real quick here.
Yeah, I'd like to know a little bit more about the modifications to that board real quick.
So get geeky. What are some of the mods on the console?
Ask me, really put me on the spot here. There are some electronics in the channel 15 and 16. Yeah.
The console's on, but I'll show you. Okay.
And actually, I don't have any of these screwed in at the moment because I'm gonna start I've been talking about starting a repair project on it for a while, but.
There you go. Look at that. Can you see that? Very.
All right. So here's a buyer. What is this? Like I said, I'm still learning a lot about this, but this piece just is different.
On the whole channel. Oh my god. Yeah. So when I had my Tascam, hold on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I had a Tascam console. So we talked about this, right? What is hot when you're making a microphone cable? Which one's hot? Right? Pin 2. Not on Tascam consoles from 1991. Pin 3 is hot. So because it wasn't standardized. So but there was a guy who modded consoles. So we pulled out channels from our console and our master section and had someone come back, mod all those, maybe like $1,500 to mod 4 channels and the master section, right? So and this Keith is saving all that money. We got so many parts back. We put it in a thrift store cocktail shaker we bought, and it became a percussion item. Like it was full of just parts that had been swapped out. It was crazy, right? So, and it was like, so then channels 1 through 4 on our console were pin 2 hot, which is the kick and snare, because I didn't want to flip the phase you had to flip the polarity. And those mic pre's totally sounded different than the other console, and the master section. So the master fader, we got so much more headroom. And then the high end was like, oh my God, we had, because we were doing both analog recording and then the original ADAT recordings. And so swapping out these pieces, because they make it in bulk, right? So where do they save money? That kind of stuff. So with these channel strips, so you can see there's the fader through, right? So that whole strip comes out, and then there's different ribbon cables that plug in.
Now, one of the updates I'm going to be doing, you can see all this stringy stuff. It's not supposed to be like that. So there's basically, this one's, let's see. This one is the way it's supposed to be. And it looks like 4 bare wires covered in Scotch tape. It's not. It's a plastic. In fact, some of the repairs done on this previously used Scotch tape when it came out. But then these are all broken off. And what these do is they basically bus everything. And so I have to go through and replace all of these with shielded wire. So that would be 12 wires on all 40 channels.
But guess what he's
Repair.
but guess what he's going to need in January, people? Guess what he needs in January? Maybe March. An intern. Yeah, let's talk about internship because you've had to. Oh gosh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I wasn't finished on the mods. So I just and so initially you have a main mix fader, master fader, and an auxiliary master fader. Those have been modded to be just the master fader and the control room volume. There is, yeah. And so that had to happen because, there's no control room, there was no control room master on this board because it was for live sound. The other thing is that what happens when you hit solo on a live soundboard? It goes to your headphones, right? So right now, it doesn't go anywhere. And so that's a mod that is going to happen once I can source new channel strips, not channel strips, but master strips that I can cannibalize and route that signal. Yeah. And there's an engineer who's on Gearspace a lot who Jim Williams, and I did. And so he actually advocates quite a bit for these boards. And that's how Adam, who originally owned this, started modifying it. I was able to buy 6 strips from Japan, 6 channel strips from Japan last year to replace some bad channels. And so that stuff comes up, but not a whole lot. So eventually I'll have solo. Right now, it's really frustrating not having solo.
Good question. Other questions?
Is there I got one for Keith. We're looking at a lot of analog gear, and he's talking about vintage gear. Is there any new technology that he's excited about or is using in his space? Newer?
Well, this is the way I know how to work. So this is pretty much is my comfort area. New technologies, I mean, a lot of software. Most of the stuff I do is in the box. Mainly Reaper, Pro Tools, Logic, what I use, FabFilter, Valhalla, Tokyo Dawn Labs plugins are some of my favorites. Native Instrument stuff. So mainly it's like MIDI controller, I'll use that a lot in sessions and do some MIDI stuff along with the tracking that we do.
So with the analog front end that you're concentrating on, right? So good mic pre's and some, do you, with your experience, because we have access to, you've seen Studio F and stuff, are you find yourself happy then with the tracking in the box and not having to do as much, or does it not have an impact on that? You're still tweaking things like crazy?
I'm still tweaking things like crazy. I think I've been, in my evolution as an engineer, I've been trying to get the sound first before I print it. And, knowing what can be done if time is short, if I'm not 100% sure where this tracking is going, I may leave it be until later. But, I like, when I'm tracking bands here, I like tracking bands live in the studio, scratch vocal, or even a live vocal in the ISO booth, and so I like having that energy, having people play together. And so I try to focus on that. And sometimes in that case, then I'm waiting till later. But it all depends on how much time they've booked, what the project is like. So it just depends.
Pre-production and things like that. Good question, Chad.
Only about 5 minutes left, Neal.
Okay, that's it. Wow, quick. So let's talk about internships because that's going to be, let me bring this up, stand by. tilt. So everyone needs an internship. Some are doing internships right now. As a studio owner, talk to the students about how they can make the process easy for you as a business owner to get an internship. So we talk a little bit of stuff, but I think your point of view would be really interesting. So someone sitting there like, I want to intern with that guy. Like, what's the process for them to make it easy for you to say yes to them?
Well, I get a lot of emails from people asking for internships, and honestly, it's really difficult to spend time on that because there's so much going on here. And if it's just somebody reaching out to me out of the blue, which is great, it's also like I don't know really anything about your background and all that, and I don't have a lot of time to set up interviews and do all that. The interns I've had, I've came recommended, or if somebody reached out to me and said, hey, I know Neal Schmitt from Capital, he's my instructor or whatever, then I can start a dialogue and kind of understand your strengths and things like that, and when you're available and all that. So even for me, like when I tried to intern when I was a student, the first one I did was Paisley Park in Minneapolis, and I didn't know anybody there, and it was just a no. I just, it was. But when I went to Arden in Memphis, there was a history of Ohio University students at the time who had gone there that I've known. They recommended me talk to a certain person there. And, I could say, hey, I'm a friend of Jack's who was interning there last year, and I'm getting ready to do an internship. And those relationships really help. So I hate to say it's who you know, it's not necessarily, but there's definitely a benefit to, getting to know your, what's the word I'm looking for? The community, I guess, of getting a referral, getting.
So, the question, so the answer is, hey, Neal, get me an internship. It's, hey, I'm looking at Secret Studio. Do you know someone there? And the answer would be, I do. Hey, do you know someone at Sonic Lounge? I do. Do you know some, right? And if I don't, maybe then I do, or Chad does or something. Hey, I'm looking at the studio in Nashville. Do you know anyone? As opposed to, hey, I want an internship in Cleveland, right? It's not that. It's using that network. So some of your parents know really cool people, like, oh yeah, Chad knows amazing people who have come through Capital and through his network, which is different than mine, which is different than Amber's, which is different than Lisa's, which is different than Doc Locke's, right? So it's using that, and it's because it is very easy just to say no. And I used to get that at workbook all the time. I mean, 1 a day, 2 a day. It was just like, it's so easy just to ignore that. It's polite persistence. And then if someone's like, that communication, like, hey, and I've told some of you students, like, hey, use my name in the email, because that will get you in the door, right? If you have a reputation. So, and I know someone doesn't sometimes carry weight, sometimes it doesn't. I'm not saying it automatically gets, but it's certainly going to get you a little bit closer. So I think that's really important. Keith, thank you much. I know we got to wrap up. So Franklinton Fridays, I'm like the reporter on it. It's going to be a beautiful night. Come down the gallery, get out of Capitol, looking for something to do. I wish I could come down. I've got other plans. So thanks everyone. Chad, I'm going to pass it back to you full time. You can wrap it up there.
Thanks, Keith. Appreciate it. Awesome. That's incredible. So